Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the podcast. And today we have Chef Alina Z, who is a Couture Nutrition Chef, TV show host, and creator of the #1 best-selling diet, helping people learn how to eat healthy and live their lives. So we're going to dive into all of this and more, how she embarked on this journey to help people improve their lives through nutrition. So let's give a welcome to Alina. So Alina, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Byron. Great to be here.
Definitely. So how did you embark on this journey? Because people that go into wanting to become a chef and helping people with nutrition, there's some type of interesting background that inspired them to devote their lives to understanding food and helping people become healthier.
I'll tell you that in a second. And before we begin, I want to apologize to everybody just in advance. You said embark twice, and my dog might bark because he wants food. So I apologize for that because we're at my house right now. We're just being realistic, and that's what I'm all about. I'm about being realistic about life and adjusting to life, and that's how I got started. I was in grad school, and I was talking to a friend of mine. She said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, you know what? I like talking and I like eating, so I want a job that I do that, get paid for that. So, be careful what you wish for." And I got a job as a VP of marketing in PR for a catering company. And my job was to eat and to talk, and just started eating a lot and going out. You have a lot of people do that even without working in a catering company. You go out to events, you go out for lunch, you go out for dinner. You just keep going out, and how when you eat out too much, too many indulgences, food is not always best quality. Too much salt, too much sugar, and I started gaining weight, and I started going on diets. And I decided to learn more about it. And somebody offered me to do a TV show. I call it Entertaining A to Z, for people who like to cook who like to eat but don't cook. And so everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's me in DC." So I was trying to figure out my way, how to get back to being healthy in a realistic world. And I just started doing it and helping other people while I was helping out myself. So that's how I got started. And I went to nutrition school, and I went to a raw foods academy because I learned that, raw food is good for you, and it's delicious, and you don't have to cook. So it's instant gratification when you make your 3-minute brownie. You just mix the batter and you can eat it right away, and it tastes like a brownie. It looks like a brownie, and just doesn't have to take 30 minutes to bake it, and you don't have to wait. So I didn't have the patience. And one thing led to another. I got asked by a celebrity to cook for her. And then another person asked me to cook for them. And before I knew it, I became a full-time private chef. And I quit my job as a marketing director. I was part-time when I went to school for nutrition then. And just kept going with it. And here we are.
Oh, that's awesome, because you followed your passion in that case. Now, when you were in grad school, what were you studying? What was it that you originally wanted to do?
Talk, know how to talk, know how to, my master's degree is in public communication. And what I wanted to learn was how to be a public speaker, how to promote companies that I believe in, how to get public excited about what I'm doing. So that's what I was studying in grad school.
Now that's interesting, because you're doing what you wanted to. It just had a slight little twist to it, that it became focused on nutrition, not just helping companies in general get their message out there.
Right. And I get to help myself now to get my own message out, which is a little more challenging when you do it from the inside your own mind, not from outside, because you don't see yourself objectively. But that also has been a blessing, because when I realized I don't see myself objectively, I realized other people don't see themselves objectively, so I can help them with that.
Right. Oh, definitely. So as you embarked on this journey on the self-discovery, as you wanted to learn more about food, what attracted you to the whole concept of a raw food diet out of all the different choices out there?
So I'll tell you a story. When I went to nutrition school, the cool thing about my school was that every time we had a new guest lecturer, they would tell you a completely different thing about nutrition. So, for example, one day we would have Dr. Andrew Weil talking about, anti-inflammatory diet and eating salmon, for example, and sardines because of the omega-3s. And the next day you would have a vegan teacher saying, see, that's my dog saying, I want food. Saying you should only eat vegan food and no animal protein. Then the next day you would have somebody talking about butter and saying, listen, you need to eat butter and you need to eat cheese. And then the next time somebody would say, no, you need to eat macrobiotic food. So it was all different diets, and they confused the heck out of you to make you realize that everybody's different, and different cultures, different by individualities, they require different foods. And then David Wolf spoke, and he was a raw foodist, and he just had so much energy. He was just so happy. And I could really relate to that because naturally I'm a very happy, energetic person. But then I was tired and overworked, and I was like, I want to be back to me. I want to have energy. I want to have abundance of this light. That if you are what you need to eat food that comes from the sun, that goes upwards. And I was like, well, eating food that grows and defies gravity, growing up towards the sky, right? It's great in theory, but like I don't want to eat carrots and celery sticks, and it's kind of boring. So a friend of mine took me to a raw vegan restaurant to try their food, and I remember this, Byron. I tried their blueberry pie, and it was just so delicious. The crust was just the way the crust is supposed to be in a pie, and the blueberries were just supposed to be like a blueberry pie. Like everything was the same, but it was good for you. You didn't have any guilt. It tasted amazing, and I found out you don't have to cook it, so you can eat it right away. So I signed up for raw vegan cooking class right away after that tasting, and then I went to school. So in summary, it just tastes amazing because you can recreate anything in raw food. You can do the burgers, you can do the fries, you can do pizza, you can do burritos, you can do desserts, which is my favorite. And you don't have to cook it, so it's instant gratification, and it tastes amazing. And then you have energy. And to me, I don't want to settle for less. Like I don't want to eat food that you eat and it tastes amazing for that moment in time. And then after that, you're like, oh my God, why did I eat that? Oh my God, why is my butt getting bigger? Or why do I feel sick? You know how you
Right.
like you go out and you indulge, and then you just feel crappy, and that's not the way to live. And I really wanted to help people to live and have joy and have everything that they want. So now my food is about win-win-win. It has to be good for you, so you feel great. It has to be good for the environment, so planet survives, and it has to taste good. So all the taste buds have to be also on board.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those are really important things because I think when it comes to food, like you said, people focus on the moment instead of what's good for them in the long term. Because there's that happy medium where you can have both. There's nothing like, you're eating all this food that tastes amazing in the moment, but you look down at your waistline, you're wondering, the only thing growing in my life is my waistline, and that's not helpful.
Right.
And it's so much because of food.
Right. And that's actually what got me to write my book that's coming up soon. And we can talk about that in a little bit. But, I wanted people to be happy. I want to be happy because I find that, when you eat something and it makes you feel guilty afterwards, and it makes you feel anxious, and it makes you feel just unhappy. Like the world is full of unhappy people. And I just want everybody to feel good. And, that's been my inspiration, just to feel good. And I do want to have a disclaimer right there that I'm not raw vegan. I'm not a vegan even, but majority of my food is vegan, and a lot of my food is raw. But I feel like it's by individual approach to food. And, I do crave animal protein. My body craves it, and I've tried to not eat it, and it just didn't work for me. So I do eat animal protein in moderation. That's kind of quality. Also, animals that were raised on the farm where they had a good life and not suffered, being in cruel environments like in conventional farming. And also there's no hormones, no antibiotics. That's all best quality for the body again, and the best possible conditions for them and the best possible for the environment. So I am not vegan, but I like to eat as much of it as I can because, like I said, it makes me feel good most of the time. So
Oh, and that's important that you are eating for what your body needs, because so many people, I think what they do is they see one of these diets on TV, from somebody says, "Oh, this is going to work amazing," and they try it and they feel miserable. So how does someone really figure out what works best for them? Because like when you were in school, you had one person after another in terms of guest lecturers talking about the benefits of all these different diets, but some of them conflict with each other.
yes, I'm glad you asked, Byron, because that has been my challenge for many, many years. And, I do tell people that, my story started because I was working in a catering company and I was overeating because I was eating so much food for my job. But another thing that got me to where I am and was a pivotal point that I didn't realize actually until just recently was a pivotal point. But I wrote a book about this, so that things kind of just work their own way. Sometimes you have to let go and allow creativity and inspiration take place, and then on the later you see the puzzle pieces fit. But so through the years, after I gained weight, I've been trying all these diets, and I'm like, well, why is nothing working? And I found a way to find the right path for me. And so I wrote a book, and it's coming out end of this year, right in time for people trying to lose weight after the holidays. And there's no more trying. I don't want people to try. I actually want them to be happy and to let go of the weight that they no longer need. And so the book is called Single and Hungry, a realistic guide to food and self-love. And in the book, I talk about self-love because that is something that drives people to eat more, or lack of self-love drives people to eat more, because a lot of times we eat not because we're hungry for food, but because we're hungry for love. And when we don't love ourselves, we always feel empty inside. And we feel empty inside, we think that's hunger for food. And so we try to fill that emptiness with food. And when you also don't love yourself, you start eating foods that make you feel happy, because when you don't love yourself, you're not happy. And so we eat foods that have sugar, dairy, and some people also consume alcohol. And that was me actually, 10 years and 5 months ago, drowning my sorrows in that legal drug of sugar, alcohol, and dairy. And I got out of it, eating that kind of stuff, finding my way. And now I teach people how to fall in love with themselves and find the perfect lifestyle for them. Not a diet. I don't like to call it diet, but just a guide to try things on. And I'm sure women more than men probably, but men can also relate to, when you go to a fashion store, and you want to change your style because you no longer like the way something looks on you, you go and you try things on, right? You go to I don't know, Macy's, Nordstrom, and you try different jackets, and you try different shirts, and you try different pants, and like, oh, this one's too tight, or this one is the wrong color. You all know how the dressing room works, right? But we don't have dressing rooms for diets. We don't have somebody saying, listen, try this on, try this on. We have instead books on shelves. This diet is the best one. This one will work for you. Try this. And nobody knows you. Nobody knows
Right.
who you are. They don't know who Byron is. They don't know who Alina is. They just know that Dr. So-and-so thought this was the best diet because of the research. But you know what? Research was never based on you. It was never based on your lifestyle. It was never based on your heartache and your personal preferences and your genes. And so in my book, I teach people how to find what works for them. And it's a guide. It's not a diet. It's a guide. And in the book, I teach you, okay, try this on, see how this fits. How do you feel after this? And I give different explanations for things and guide you in the guide to fill it out for yourself. So then you have your own lifestyle plan and you know how to eat. And you might love some raw food ideas, might love some animal proteins, I don't know, but you will only know when you try it on for yourself. And I have recipes. I have many recipes in the book. They are all plant-based because I know that there are plenty of ways to find how to cook a steak or bake a chicken. People know that. I don't need to teach them. But what I can teach them is how to take their cravings for pizza and cheesecake, and because dairy again and the reason why I do so many dairy substitutes is because, just to give you a quick overview, the dairy is scientifically proven to have similar effect on the brain as morphine and heroin. I've never done either, but I heard that it relates to it because it numbs the brain, it calms you down, it has a calming effect. And I don't want people to be doing legal dairy drug anymore, and instead, so I have the recipes for dairy cheesecake there, and for pizza, and for mac and cheese, and for lasagna, and those call them foods that love your body. So you love yourself, you eat foods that love you back, you have a relationship with food, and when you're in a good relationship with food, you're not in yourself, you're no longer hungry.
That's awesome. Just because when you look at it, one of the most important things for people is that they understand what's going to truly help their bodies with the foods they need to be consuming versus just going along with the masses.
Exactly.
And when you mentioned dairy there, how is it that, from your perspective, that people are just consuming it without even questioning? Does this make any sense?
Of course, it's legal, right? There's no warning on it. And, if you think about it, and people talking about it, there's many more. If you look at the market shelves in the last 3 years, there's so many dairy alternatives because people are learning this information and it is slowly becoming more and more available. But there is a lot of research, and you don't even need research. You just need to look at yourself and think, can I have just one piece of cheese at a party? Can I have just one spoon of ice cream? How do I feel when I have ice cream? And a lot of people can relate to this. They eat ice cream, and I've done this myself, alone at night. Why? Because that's when you have so much anxiety and you need to go to sleep, and that's the only soothing thing. You don't go and you eat a salad before you go to bed, right? Because salad has energy. It's food from the sun. It grows upwards, like we talked about, and I touched upon that. That's why I love raw food, because it grows up, and gravity grows down. So the energy of the food affects us. But dairy, energetically, is made for a baby calf from his mama or her mama to keep them calm and to keep them close so that the calf doesn't go way too far. So it's addictive. It naturally has an addictive property. So the calf gets addicted to his mom, and she can keep him close so he can eat and grow bigger. And that information is out. And there's a great book by Neil Barnard talking about cravings and ending your cravings. And that was the first book I read about this. And there's a lot of information you can just Google, why is cheese addictive? There's casein, which is a milk protein. And there's a higher concentration of it in cheese. So that's why people love cheese pizzas. They love lasagnas. They love burgers or cheeseburgers, actually more than burgers. And they love ice cream and cheesecakes. And that's why in Golden Girls, they were eating a cheesecake and drinking wine. They weren't like salad and a sparkling water. It's a calming thing. And when people start waking up to it and reading the information, they see, wow, there's so much of it available, so much information available. And now, because of the information and because of the demand for dairy-free products, people are buying and supplying, dairy-free cheeses, different kinds, nut-free, soy-free. There's so many ice creams. If you go to any, even regular Kroger's, brand stores like Safeway or Ralph's or, Harris Teeter or whatever is local to you, they have dairy-free cashew-based, they have dairy-free coconut-based, dairy-free soy-based ice creams. There's so much out there because this information is becoming available, because dairy is addictive. And not to mention, dairy is created, and I don't want to call bad things about dairy, but it is created to make a little baby calf into a big cow. Like, that's what it's for. And I will tell you again, I do eat dairy still. I'll go to, if I go to Italy, I'll have ice cream, I'll have pizza, I'll have bread and butter. I'm not saying no to it, but somebody told me everything is toxic. It's the dose that's the poison. So you just have to find your balance, your style, nutritional, nutrition, your couture nutrition. I call it couture nutrition because couture to you, your couture nutrition style, so that okay, if I eat dairy when I feel sad, it has a numbing effect. But when I'm with my friends and we're having fun and someone orders a organic, healthy pizza with organic cheese, and it's going to create more stress in my body if I say no because I really want a piece. It's okay to have a piece or have a little bit of ice cream in Italy or gelato. Stress is much more detrimental to your health than I think a lot of foods are. So it's not about saying no to these foods completely and cutting them out. That's not my personal style, but you have to try it on and see what's yours. But I do a little bit of dairy once in a while, just not for the calming effect of it, not for the drug portion of it.
Right. And I think it's important for people to know this information of how dairy actually impacts the body.
Right. But here's another big thing that I find, and this is what makes my book different and what makes me different, actually. Like, I will never tell you, don't ever, ever eat this. You have to just figure it out. I can say you can have anything you want. You're allowed to have whatever you want. You don't have to stop with eating full time, because a lot of times people are afraid that if they learn the information that dairy is bad for you, they will never have dairy again. And that will make them even lonelier, because food is the big part of our lives. And you have this emotional connection to food from your past. You have emotional connection to food when you go out with your friends. It's scary. People don't want to know because they think, oh, you know what, if I'll know, I'll never eat that again, and I cannot deal with that. I don't want to part with that food. It's too hard. And they don't. That's why they don't want to know. But if I tell them, listen, you can have anything you want, just know what it does to you, then you can make a conscious decision of having it once in a while, or substituting, or whatever it is. We will figure it out together. Then it's not scary anymore, and then you can open yourself to truth. But you can't handle the truth, right?
Right.
So that's the thing. That's why people don't want to know. They just don't want to know. They tell me, I don't want to know. I just want to eat it. And, well, some people are not ready, and that's okay too. I'm not going to judge that. But when you're ready, you're ready.
Oh, totally. I think, though, when you're looking at the choices that people make, one of the struggles is, how do people start making smarter choices when they're going out? Because obviously food is a central part of the social environment we live in. So how does someone start deciding, let's see, what restaurants to go to, or when they look at the menu to think, well, I should have this versus that, when, if you think as an example, they're inside their mind, they're saying, I really want a cheeseburger, but their waistline saying, like, seriously, you need a salad.
Right.
How does someone make a decision?
So I have a TV show that I started called What's New and Good with Chef Alina Z. And think of it as like Anthony Bourdain style thing, where you go to different restaurants and you talk to the owners and the chefs, but it's all about healthy food. And I'm showing you, okay, we go to a pizza place, which, by the way, I went to this pizza place to do one of the shows. I never go to pizza places. I'm like, why would I do a show in the pizza place? But then someone said you should try their gluten-free, dairy-free pizza. And I was like, oh my God, that probably is gross. And a lot of people will think that, right? Like, oh my God, dairy-free,
right.
Yuck. But it was amazing. It was really delicious. And so I did one of the segments about them. And that's what my mission is right now, is to teach people how to eat at home and find their perfect diet plans, whatever, lifestyle plans, but also how to go out to eat. And so I have a travel guide that I wrote. It's a small pocket-sized book that gives you ideas. Okay, if you go to this restaurant, if you go to a steakhouse, look for this. If you go to a Chinese restaurant, order this. It's not like eat this, not that, because they still have a lot of crap there, to be honest with you. Like, eat this cheeseburger is better than that cheeseburger. It's totally a better option, and better is better already. But I'm taking it more to a couture side, where we go to steakhouses and restaurants that are not just fast food, and I show people what to eat better. And the thing about it is, it's when you read my book, for example, and okay, this fits me, this is how it makes me feel. When you go out to the restaurant, you go as an adult, you don't go as a child. You really grow up in your mind, and you make decisions that are in your own best interest, instead of like, I want this, I want that, because nobody loves me, because I don't love myself. I'm going to say screw it, and I'm going to have this cheeseburger because damn it, that's the only thing that I got in my life. A lot of people think that way. I deserve it, and they deserve it because they don't feel loved. But when you love yourself, you become your own best friend, and you no longer have to rebel against anything. So then when you go to a cheeseburger place, you actually talk to yourself, honey, darling, you start using that language. I do. And I say, what is the best possible food choice? Is a cheeseburger what I'm really, really craving? Or is a cheeseburger something that I'm choosing to numb myself? Because I've done that. I would eat a cheeseburger crying in my car. That is not something I was craving for food. It was something I was craving emotionally. And when you figure out all of your emotional stuff, then it no longer crowds your mind. Then you can start listening to your belly and say, well, what is it I'm really, really craving? Do I really want this cheeseburger? Or do I want a cheeseburger that's organic, hormone free? I can make it at home. I can have it tomorrow. And today, the best possible choice at this restaurant is having 3 side dishes, mushrooms that will fill me up because they're meaty, and broccoli because it has green and it's going to give me energy, and mashed potatoes because I want something that will, fill up my stomach, and because broccoli and mushrooms hardly have any calories. So bam, you got yourself a meal that's comforting, that's hot, that's yummy, and that's good for you and much better for you than a cheeseburger. But you make those choices only from the love part of you, not like, I gotta do a diet because I'm fat, because I'm ugly, nobody will ever love me, so screw it, I'm gonna just go on a diet. And then that doesn't feel good, and you're like, oh my god, nobody loves me, I'm fat and I'm ugly, I gotta soothe myself. And what do I soothe myself with? A cheeseburger. So cheeseburger it is. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh yes.
2 different approaches, and that's why self-love is so, so important.
So, how does someone become more aware of this? Because you look at how the vast majority of people in society, they go through the routines. You look at, towards the end of the day, the number of people that just, let's say, instead of them cooking a meal at home, they think, okay, I'm hungry. What do? They go through the drive-through of whatever fast food restaurant there is out there. And people are not consciously aware of how their emotions are tied to it. So how does someone become more aware so they can make smarter choices in the first place?
It's a $1 million question. Well, here's the thing that I believe in. When people are ready, they start searching. And when the student is ready, the master appears. And so people are listening to your podcast and they're like, oh, that's interesting. I'm interested in learning more about that. Then it becomes they're interested and they're getting the information. You can't, sorry, my chair. You can't push that information on anybody. You can't tell them this is what you should do. Shooting on yourself is never the answer. But when people are open and like, well, where do I start? You meet them already where they're interested. So that's the name of my book, Single and Hungry. And a lot of people were like, well, I feel hungry and I'm single. I feel alone. I'm in a relationship, but I feel alone. I'm hungry. That sounds interesting. Then they get my book, for example, like, okay, well, this is a realistic guide. Let me see what she's got to say. And they learn, okay, well, try this recipe. My recipes are super easy. And I think the proof is in the pudding, literally, chocolate pudding. You try things and you go, wow, that was easy. I can do this. If she can do this, and I didn't know how to peel a shallot. I didn't know you were supposed to peel shallots. I just put them in my soup, blended it, and my friend was like, what the hell is this? I started not knowing stuff, and I know what it's like. So I make things really easy. And when you start with something easy, it's like going to school for anything. You want to become proficient in something, you don't know how to start. You don't go to the last class, you start with the first class. And the same here, you just start. You start somewhere. You start out by going out to a new restaurant, trying something new and liking it, and then go, oh, okay, let me try how to make that at home. Or you just start buy ingredients, throw them in a blender or food processing, like, wow, I made myself a chocolate mousse, a brownie, chocolate cheesecake, or whatever. And then you're like, wow, okay, if I can make this, I can make something else. You just start somewhere, and you start somewhere easy. That's where you start. But you have to have interest in it. That's the key to component, because if you don't have interest and somebody's pushing on you, then it comes from a place of self-hatred and should, instead of, loving yourself and wanting to be there.
Oh, yes, you have to do it that way.
Yeah, if you're not ready, you're not ready. I'm not a diet pusher. You can eat whatever you want. I just want people to be happy and love themselves. And so start out slow. If you're looking for something, like I believe starting with a dessert is always a good idea, and desserts are easy to make, especially ones. And then it just blows your mind. You're like, wow, if there is something like this, what else is out there? And you just start experimenting. You go to different restaurants, you try different things. It's just like looking at somebody in a fashion magazine and looking at yourself in a mirror and be like, wow, I want to look like her. How do I start? Okay, let me try information. Let me start Googling. Let me see what's out there. And then you get the right knowledge and just start with small baby steps, little things.
You indeed have to start with small baby steps. This is the only way. You don't, let's say, start running a marathon by saying, I'm going to run a marathon, and then the next day you do it. You first start, if you've never done anything, getting off the couch and let's say walking around the block. It's a process. It takes time to build up to what you want to be able to do.
Well, you know what? And people say, well, I don't have the patience. I don't have the time. Well, actually, you did have the patience and you did have the time to get where you are, because when you were a baby, you were drinking your mom's milk and you were drinking your baby formula, and you were doing those things. And then slowly you got addicted to whatever you got addicted. Slowly you gained the weight. People don't gain 20, 30, 40 pounds, 50 pounds overnight. It was a slow process. So if you had the patience to gain 50 pounds, you have to have the patience to release the 50 pounds, because, crash diets just leave you empty inside and just make a mess in your body. So you do have the patience. You also, I tell people, when you were a kid, when you were 1, did you know how to tie your shoes? I'm like, no. Well, do you know how to tie your shoes now? Yeah. Well, how did you learn? It took you time. Tony Robbins says when you were a baby and you got up the first time and you fell, you weren't like, well, I guess walking is not for me.
Right.
You continued, you had the patience to try and to try and to try. And so you started walking. So you have it in you. You already have it in you. And with food, you just have to believe that it's the same process. It just takes a little bit of time to build into a habit, to build into the perfect fit. And that takes time trying it on.
Oh, definitely. It's what you have to do. I think this is where so many people struggle at. It's this notion of not having enough time. Just like you said, it's everything took them this time to get to where they are. So when you're looking at changing the overall diet, what the food you're consuming, what should people realistically be expecting before they start seeing those results? Because, you see all these crash diets say, oh, you can lose 20 pounds in 30 days and blah, blah, blah. But if people are really focused on making conscious decisions about their food choices, what should be realistic for someone saying that if they wanted to lose 10 pounds and they're eating properly, what should they be thinking about when it comes to that?
That's a great question. So first question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to answer it too, is why do you want to lose the pounds? Why do you want to lose the weight? And most likely the answer is I want to be happy. Right? Because if I lose the weight, I'm going to look skinny, I'm going to be pretty, and people are going to love me. And when people love me, I'm going to be happy. But if you starve yourself and be miserable, you can't be miserable your way to happy. And then nobody is going to change their mind just based on the way you look. If your friends, if you call your best friends and you say, why do you love me? They're not going to say, well, because you've got great thighs or you have such a flat stomach. That's why I want to be friends with you. People love you for who you are. Now, the big thing is, and the challenge is that you are not happy inside of you right now. You don't love you for who you are. And that is where you need to begin focusing on. You need to start being happy now. And when you are happy and you love yourself, you need to fall in love with yourself first, because when you fall in love with yourself and you feel happy inside, then the choices of food become second nature because they come from love. When you love somebody, right, you want the best for them naturally. You don't have to think, well, how I'm gonna treat my daughter or how I'm gonna treat somebody that I really love. Like, you know how to treat somebody you love, and you just have to do the same for you. And so in my book, I talk about that when we gain weight, for example, we take a bizarre action of going on a diet. And people are like, well, why is it bizarre? You gain weight and you need to lose weight. No, because you're already unhappy. You're unhappy about your weight. And now you're going to restrict yourself and separate yourself. A lot of times diets make you become a hermit. Like you can't go out anymore, right? You can't socialize with your friends. And you like sitting at home, you reject yourself from other people. And like, how is that going to make anything happen, make you happy? So I think you have to be happy first and happy in your body and in your soul and really fall in love with yourself. And that's why I talk about the first part of the book, shedding all of the limiting beliefs that you're not lovable, that you don't deserve to be happy, because you do. It's your inherited right when you were born to be loved, but everything else was just taught. When babies are just in their natural state without being hungry or, having the poopy diapers, they're happy. You were happy. You were smiling for no reason. And now we don't. So, happiness is the number one key. And then when you're happy, then when you feel that you love yourself, you can start making choices based on that. What's the most loving thing for me to do right now? What's the most loving food for me to eat right now? And then it just becomes a natural process of being happy during the process. And then in the end, you're going to be happy. And then you know what? If you don't lose the pounds, for example, right? You're already happy. You're genuinely in love with yourself. And it's already good. You're already there, and it's kind of like working from the end result. Just get happy first, fall in love with yourself first, and then you'll make the right decisions. Does that make sense?
And oh, totally. It's something that people have to embrace because just like you said, so many people in the world, when they look at the mirror, they want to, if someone's single, like, oh, if I lose this weight, then I'll be happy and then I can attract the right person, versus it starts internally, that unless you're happy, you're never going to make the right choices. And everything's done for the wrong reasons. And also, people think that if people are only judging you based on your looks, then you have the wrong circle of people around you, because the moment something changes, they're all gone.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it has to start internally. And let me tell you, it is a long process. Sometimes actually it is. And it's a bumpy process, because like one day you're like, oh my God, totally God, I love myself. I'm happy. Then something happens, like, shit, I just want a cheeseburger and I want a cheesecake and ice cream, a margarita. And, I've been doing this work for 10 years, Byron, 10 years. And just recently, like, I got upset. External factors made me upset. I chose to be upset over external factors. And I had a dessert with gluten and sugar, and I had a glass of Prosecco, and I had dairy, my choice of drug. And I was like, oh my God, look at me. This is what I'm doing. Great. So I was like, I kind of felt just so much love for myself, and I felt a lot of compassion. I was like, wow, I must have really been hurting to just go for that, because it's been there for 10 years, and it's not something that I can personally drop overnight. Some people can. Like, I admire those people who can say, I'm no longer eating dairy and sugar, and they will be like that the whole life. Like, I'm not one of those people. And so it hasn't not been an easy process for me, but it's been a process, and then definitely it's been a progress. A great friend of mine, he keeps saying that, happiness isn't a progress. Look how far you've done. Look how much better you're doing. So when you are trying to do something, don't judge yourself. It's easy to judge yourself. Oh my God, I'm a health coach. I'm a raw food chef. I'm a healthy chef. Look at me. Here I am crying, eating this ice cream and this brownie with Prosecco. What are people going to think of me? Like, and it's so judgmental of me to think that. And then I'm like, well, I'm only so human, and I have my weaknesses, and it's okay to have them. And I just can't reject myself. Imagine if I was feeling sad and I was rejecting myself for feeling sad. And I used I used to do that. And now I just had a lot of compassion, and I want people to feel that way, because I know a lot of people are cursing themselves out for being weak. I know these people. I have a friend who curses at herself for being weak. And instead of saying, oh my God, I love myself so much, I must be in a lot of pain. And how can I make it better now? Okay, I did that. It was not a good thing yesterday because now I feel shitty. What do I do now? And it's human. It's absolutely human to go through the process. And I tell everybody it's not an easy one, but it's a better process than not doing it. At least you're getting something to
Right.
process. There's progress.
Right. That's the most important thing, is that there's progress. And so many times the things that we're doing, it's not leading to the progress that we're wanting, unfortunately, because we're not making the right choices along the way. And that's what we have to change in ourselves.
Well, see,
Is that, okay, this.
I don't like the word right, because then it becomes like right or wrong. I feel more like self-loving, because it feels good. When something is loving, you just want to do that more. Sometimes just not, but I feel the restrictions of calling something good or bad, right or wrong, it's being judgmental. And when you become judgmental on yourself, you start feeling miserable because you reject yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the key to it. We have to make the choices that's going to feel best for us inside. And that's where I think people ultimately struggle with, because we live in this world where you hear the conflicting pieces of information out there, like we discussed before, of this is better for you. Oh no, you should do this. Oh, to be happy, you need to have the washboard abs, and so on and so on. So it's no wonder that there's people in the world who are just confused about how in the world can they be happy if they don't know what happiness should truly be.
Well, it's a very good point, because a lot of times people grow up in horrible situations, have really miserable childhoods, and they don't even know that they deserve something better. But, here they are today, and they think, well, there must be something out there that's better than this. And because I've been there in a way that I couldn't figure out what to eat and how to be happy, and learning from all these books and, food books, they say, eat this, eat that, go. And self-help books say, love yourself, kumbaya, and they don't tell you what to eat. And so that's why I combined it, because I know what it feels like to not know what to do. And I wanted to do something to help people. So that's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm doing the TV show, to help people for that, because it is so challenging. And I've been there. I know what it's like. I had a really good childhood, a great childhood. And then yet, can I curse on this podcast? Is it okay to drop an F-bomb?
Oh, no, there's no F-bombs allowed here.
Okay. Well, effed up childhood, an effed up thing to me. And everybody, nobody's perfect. Like, even me, people look like, oh my God, you had such a great life. Yes, I had a great life. But things happen, things F you up. It's nobody got their shit together. As somebody said, if you think people who say they got their shit together standing in it, and it's true, because nobody comes out unscarred. And even those people who come unscarred, they're unhappy. Like, look at Buddha. Buddha became a Buddha because he was a prince, and he was protected, and he lived a perfect little childhood, and he was unhappy. And so he went and he decided to be poor and miserable and find happiness there, because it was an antidote to his happy childhood. He didn't find happiness there either. So nobody got it perfect. And I think a lot of times people look at you and like, oh, you got it perfect. And if she's perfect, I cannot do it because I'm clearly not perfect. But, I share my story in the book, and I think everybody can relate to some part of it, because we all go through something. And it's not what our past created for us that matters the most. It's what we do with it now. Do we let our past and say, well, I was miserable in my childhood and I didn't get to eat what I wanted. I didn't get to have any toys. I didn't get to have love. So screw you today. And by you, I mean yourself. And I'm going to have a cheeseburger. Even if it makes you, 20 pounds heavier, I don't care, because I deserve it, because I didn't get it in my childhood. Like, just don't let your childhood and your past pains and aches dictate your current situation.
That's so important, because I think too often as society, we let our past dictate what our future is going to be, not realizing every day is a new opportunity to create something different. We can either wallow in the past and just think, oh, well, this is all there is, or you can look at it as, that was then, this is now. I have the entire world in front of me. What will I do today to make it even better than it was yesterday?
Right. And you also have to process the pains too, because if you say, that sucked, I'm going to let it go and not really process it, then you're just stuffing it somewhere. And my God, Byron, it is a challenging process to let yourself feel your pains and go through you and let them go. It is not an easy process to really feel it, but you do have to feel your feelings and let them go. You have to feel them feelings and be like, okay, that, like you just said, that was yesterday or years ago. Today's a new day. It's a new life. But you do have to make sure you process it, because if you stuff things away in the corner and you don't let them come up and you don't let them yourself feel them, then they sit in your body like an undigested sandwich. And if you have food that's not been digested for many, many years, it starts rotting, and it's not a pretty picture.
No, it's definitely not. And you don't want that in your body, because you want to treat your body like a temple, not necessarily like, let's say, an outhouse.
Right. But you know what? Here's the thing that keeps coming. That's why I did the book about self-love. Here's the thing. You say, treat your body as a temple, right? If somebody doesn't love themselves, they will treat their body as an outhouse. They will, because they feel like they are a piece of shit. They do. And they shouldn't, because they're beautiful people. They're wonderful inside. And the outside is just showing up the internal turmoil that they think they're supposed to be living in. But that is why it's so important to fall in love with yourself. It's so important to fall in love with your outhouse. It's so important to fall in love with your dark sides. It's so important to accept yourself the way you are, because only when you love yourself and accept yourself, you can turn that outhouse into a temple. And one of my favorite symbols for life is a lily, the water lily, because it grows in mud. Lotus, sorry, not lily, lotus. It grows, it's water lilies, lotus, right? They grow up in mud, and this beautiful flower that comes out of mud. And also, I tell people the reason why I wear a flower in my hair is to remember to let yourself blossom. And when life gives you shit, you turn it into fertilizer, and the fertilizer helps you grow and blossom even more. So it's just changing your perception and starting to love yourself. Then when you fall in love with yourself, you turn that shit house into a temple, and then you can really, really love your body and love your temple fully. But it just has to start somewhere with love. All comes down to love.
Oh,
It is love.
Indeed it does. That's how it always works. As we wrap up everything, what's one thing you recommend for people to improve their self-love and start making smarter choices with the foods they're eating?
Oh my God, just one. Okay, so when you go on a date, you meet a person, and because my book is about single and love, right? You go on a you go on a date, and you're like, well, how do I like this person? Yeah, they're nice. Do they like me? Will they treat me nice, or will they beat me up, or will they be abusive? Yeah, if they feel abusive, I'm probably not gonna go out with them, right? But if they seem nice, I'm gonna go out with them again. So the same with food. Start thinking about food that loves you back, food that loves your body. And when you make a choice, when you look at food, just ask yourself, like, you're going on a date with this food. Okay, I like this food. Does it like me back? Is the food gonna treat me good? Is this food only maybe for one night stand? It's okay to have a one night stand with someone who's not so nice, because it's just a one night stand. With food, the same thing. You can have a one night stand with a cheesecake once in a while. It's okay, but don't have a relationship with that cheesecake, because the cheesecake is going to mess up your internal organs and in your mind and all of that stuff. So that number one advice is just keep asking yourself, does this food love my body? Is this food going to treat me well? Come from that place when you make a choice. And then you're going to start slowly shifting your mind to awareness and starting to realize, oh, you know what? I didn't realize that this food is abusive to my body. I don't feel so good after I eat that. And when you have awareness, then you can make choices that are clear. And then you can make powerful choices. And then the choice is yours. Internally, people know what to do. You already know what to do. You know that carrots are better for you than a steak. in some situations. You already know, okay, let's not say steak, but let's say cheeseburger, right? McDonald's. You already know,
Right.
you already know what. Sometimes steak is important. Like sometimes I'll have a steak, once in a while. My body's craving it. But anyway, you internally will know what the best food is for you if you ask yourself, does this food love my body back? Does it love me back? How will I feel afterwards? So just having that awareness, I think, is a great way to start.
Right. Oh, most definitely. Well, I want to thank you for coming into the podcast today. How can people reach out to you to learn more about your upcoming book and more about the services you offer to help people make smarter choices with food?
Oh, thank you. My website is Alinas Z, ALINAZ.com, and I am on social media as Couture Food. So couture like the clothes, COUTURE food. And I post all the time. God knows I post all the time on social media, recipes, videos, tips. And as I said, I'm not perfect. I'm Alina, and I'm happy to inspire people with my journey, so you know that you're not alone. And I know the book is going to be on my website and on Amazon. Single and Hungry, and everything else is on my website and the videos on YouTube. And there's just, if you search me Alina Z on YouTube too, there's tons of videos, and you can see how easy it is. And just try it on. You don't have to sign up for the whole thing for your lifetime to eat healthy. Just try it on.
That's awesome. Well, once again, thank you for coming onto the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Byron. Cheers to your health.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.